For decades, heavy armor sat at the center of U.S. Army doctrine. Tanks were not just another weapon system. They were the foundation of how the Army planned, trained, and fought. From the Cold War through Iraq and into the modern era, armored formations represented shock, protection, and decisive combat power. The M1 Abrams tank became the symbol of that dominance. It combined mobility, firepower, and survivability in a way few systems ever have. Entire brigades, divisions, and corps were structured around heavy armor. The assumption was simple. If you could bring tanks to the fight, you could control the battlefield. But modern warfare is exposing cracks in that assumption. The battlefield today looks very different from the one tanks were originally designed for. Precision weapons, persistent surveillance, electronic warfare, and cheap unmanned systems have changed how forces are detected, targeted, and destroyed. Recent conflicts have made one thing clear. Heavy armor is no longer operating in an environment where it can move freely without constant protection. Tanks are being observed from above, tracked in real time, and engaged by threats that did not exist when much of current doctrine was written. This does not mean the U.S. Army believes tanks are obsolete. Far from it. What it does mean is that tanks can no longer be treated as independent battlefield kings. Their role is shifting from dominance to contribution within a larger combined arms system. One of the biggest challenges is survivability. Traditional armor was designed to defeat kinetic rounds and shape charges coming from predictable directions. Modern threats attack from above, from behind, and sometimes from everywhere at once. No amount of frontal armor solves that problem. The Army is now forced to consider how heavy armor survives in a transparent battlefield. Drones, satellites, and sensors make hiding difficult. Movement becomes risky. Static positions become targets. Protection now depends as much on electronic warfare and air defense as it does on steel and composite armor. Another issue is cost. Tanks are expensive to build, maintain, transport, and repair. When a low-cost weapon can disable or destroy a high-value platform, commanders must think carefully about how and when that platform is employed. The cost-exchange ratio matters more than ever. Logistics also play a major role. Heavy armor consumes fuel, spare parts, maintenance time, and specialized personnel. In large-scale conflicts, sustaining armored forces becomes a challenge in itself. The Army has to ask whether it can move, supply, and protect heavy units fast enough in future wars. Because of this, doctrine is evolving. Tanks are increasingly viewed as part of a layered system that includes infantry, drones, air defense, cyber capabilities, and long-range fires. No single platform is expected to dominate on its own. Training reflects this shift. Armored units now train under constant drone surveillance. They practice operating with electronic warfare support. They integrate more closely with infantry and unmanned systems. The goal is not to remove tanks from the battlefield, but to ensure they can survive on it. The Army is also investing in upgrades rather than replacements. Improved sensors, better networking, active protection systems, and counter-drone measures are all attempts to adapt existing armor to modern threats without abandoning it entirely. What is emerging is not the end of heavy armor, but a redefinition of its role. Tanks still provide unmatched direct firepower and protection for troops, but they now operate under tighter constraints, with greater reliance on supporting systems to keep them alive. The lesson from recent conflicts is clear. Heavy armor is no longer a guarantee of dominance. It is a capability that must be carefully integrated, protected, and employed with precision. The battlefield punishes overconfidence and rewards adaptability. The U.S. Army is not abandoning tanks. It is adjusting expectations. Heavy armor still matters, but it no longer defines warfare by itself. The future belongs to forces that can combine armor, information, speed, and protection into a cohesive system. In the end, the question is not whether tanks have a future. The question is how they fit into a battlefield where visibility is constant, threats are cheap, and survival depends on integration rather than dominance.